let's talk about the championship for a minute, because we'll talk more about the games coming up at the weekend later.
Something I know.
What books? What?
Brass bands in Saddleworth.
So stereotypical. Carry on, championship.
Just on brass bands, I was very sad to hear that BBC Local Radio in Yorkshire might be getting rid of their brass band programme, because that gave us one of our best gimmicks at Radio Yorkshire in coming on an hour before kick-off while they were playing brass band music. But never mind, both of those things are finished now. Yes, the championship, which sensationally, after we finished the show last week, literally minutes after the show last week, was cancelled, expunged, put in the bin along with League One for 2020. Some clubs obviously not happy, and Featherstone Rovers straight out of the gate trying to get into Super League.
Come on. Timing. You know, for a sport that is really trying to jazz itself up and make itself look attractive, it's great at doing the exact opposite.
When Bury failed,
the ghost of Rugby League past that appeared to be coming out of the woodwork.
You obviously got
no names.
Well, not yet. You obviously go through a lot of lower league football going. Obviously, their seasons were cancelled very late on. Yes. But when Bury went to the wall, which seems like a long time ago now, but will be about a year ago, there was no team in the conference saying, "Oh, we'll take over. We'll take League Two or whatever." Were they? It's unseemly, so to speak.
It is. I mean, the main protagonist wasn't Leigh. It was more Featherstone than the main protagonist. And for me, there was always this thing in my head, like, we're on about making the game as big as possible to appeal to as broad a range of people as possible. So we may put a third team in the Wakefield Borough in the same division.
Well, we're desperate for more top flight rugby in Wakefield. We'll get Dewsbury and Batley in there as well, because they've got the same postcode as well. We'll have all in. We'll have our own little Super League. We'll kick all you lot out. We'll just have Wakefield Super League. Yeah.
But again, without wishing to assume that Featherstone have changed their names to the Vultures, they don't want to play in the Challenge Cup. So it's like you want your cake, but you don't want to eat it, can you? We're good enough to be in Super League, promote us tomorrow, we can take the place of Toronto, but actually we're not sure we want to be in the Challenge Cup. There's too many anomalies going on at the moment.
I just found it really poor taste. I'll say it was poor taste.
I think the reality is coming out now in the teams that are saying, as good an idea or as honourable an idea the autumn competition is, we just can't afford it to run it. Just can't afford to play it. That now is more the reality of what was below the statements from Featherstone and Leigh saying, "Oh, keep it going, the RFL holding us back." I mean, the reality was the clubs below that. I mean, if you'd have gone on with the championship, probably six or eight of the teams would have gone under.
It is a tricky one, and as we kept saying for the last few months, there's no precedent for this whatsoever, and you almost. I'm going to say I feel sorry for the RFL in a sense that what can they do? They can't just be there to appease a handful of clubs outside of Super League when the majority can't sustain rugby without fans.
No, definitely. I mean, the RFL, it's literally just like, I mean, nevermore is the answer. I don't know, been more apt over the past few months because people literally do not know what's going on or what's going to happen. We don't even know now what's going to happen. I mean, I've never known what's going on anyway. So, no, I mean, the RFL have literally been, I suppose, with all governing bodies, really, just been put in a situation whereby they can just sort of shrug the shoulders and say, "Well, we've never known what's going on, so I don't know," basically, and that applies.
I think the difficulty they've got as well is that unlike football, which needed to cram a very small number of games in to complete something, so there was an imperative to find a way to do that. We're almost at the beginning of the season. It makes it absolutely impossible for even Super League clubs to be able to plan the size of their squads at the moment because they're going to be playing so many games over such a short period of time. If you're trying to do that with part-time players, it's impossible. To have a meaningful competition in 2020 has now gone past the point where that is realistic. And palatable though it is, 2021 is shaping up to be a really significant season. So for clubs that need to be at the start line for that, if they have to sacrifice playing in 2020 to preserve themselves, we should be supportive of that. And I have every sympathy for the honesty of clubs like Halifax and Rochdale that have already come out and said, look, the position that we're in at the moment, it would be financial suicide to play in anything in 2020. And I think we should respect that.
Surely these clubs want to be around in the year of the World Cup as well. 2021, it is all about the World Cup and building up to that. So that, I'm sorry, it needs to be the absolute priority.
And what we forget as well is the World Cup is a wonderful opportunity for players in the Championship and League One to have higher recognition and representative honours, because they will be playing for the Cook Islands and Ireland and Scotland and Wales, and it's really important to not harm their opportunity to do that. And I think that if we have to go without club competition for a year, and I'm not even sure that I'm 100% happy with what we're asking Super League players to do. There's a huge anomaly in saying we recognise that Easter in its traditional form should now only have one game because of the way the sport is moving. We're going to speed it up by having the 6 again rule and no scrums, but we're going to cram in more games than we have for the summer, since the summer era came in. That I understand economically why they're doing it. I still have some reservations on behalf of the players and the clubs if it is a sensible thing to be doing.
That's the thing, isn't it? Even not within the sport, within the world, everything is based on economics. All decision making is based on money, and unfortunately, without the money, we won't be here next year, will we? Let's face it.
But I think, like every sport, our financial model has been exposed.
It has, but also, why is the Premier League finished the season? Why is the Championship finished the season? But why is the Championship finished the season, but League One and League Two didn't? And why haven't the National League in that case? It's exposed the financial models in all sports, really, and it just shows almost in a way how flimsy the financial models of all sports are, really.
Because football's not come out of this looking peachy at all, especially in the EFL. There's a lot of stuff.
There was a report from the Department of Culture, Media and Sport the other day, and it actually said the financial model of football is not sustainable. And
I think we've known that, but because we live in an era where everything has to be professional, we've sort of turned a blind eye to it. And again, I don't follow football. I know that you're absolute experts in football, but it appears as though the top, is it 6 of the top 7 clubs in the Premier League this year are the ones that are acknowledged to be the wealthiest. Yeah. So, even the joy of uncertainty that is supposed to come with sport is undermined by the financial model that we have in sport. And there's a lot of questions for every sport, but this really is a point where Rugby League has to decide how it moves forward from an event like this and what it wants to look like. And that's why the Toronto debate is wider than David Argyle's purse. It's what is the identity of the sport.
Yeah, it's almost like time for a reset of the game, really. Have a look at it, how we've come out of it, what's been exposed, what hasn't been, what's come good out of it, what's been exposed as being bad out of it, and just reset a lot of it, really.
But you're saying the same things year on year.
Yeah.
This is like celebrating 125 years of Rugby League, and I've been around the post-Coma years, 5 years now, and it's the same year in, year out. So 5 years, I've been listening to this. You've been listening to it for longer. You've been saying it for longer, Phil. 125 years.
We keep saying
make a flag.
We're going to have that party as well, and that won't be happening now because we can't have a party. We said right at the start of this 4 or 5 months ago that this was a great opportunity to really have a look and to use your word, Gary, reset, and we haven't taken that opportunity. Yesterday, Sunday, A club owner returned to social media, which is always good. This is why we didn't have John on, because he's already banned.
It's been 2 years as well, by the way.
Yeah.
Ghost of Rugby League tweeted something about an hour ago. It's been 2 years since this person was last on social media.
I mean, we've got a double header on Sunday. We still might have a triple header if the Toronto Centurion Rovers take to the field. I don't have the words. I'm trying to be diplomatic. You know, I follow darts a bit, and you watch the World Match Play just finished, and then the PDC did a great job with no fans there, but it came across on TV as a great, proper sporting event. You know, well done, Dimitri Vandenberg, blah, 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 blah. The other side of darts is a complete shambles, and it is run like a working men's club committee. And unfortunately...
Sounds familiar.
But we've been saying this for a while. Phil mentioned Speedway last week, and we are heading in that direction. If we don't stop the self-interest and look at the game as a whole. And I don't think people can...
I think what's really interesting is that we started off lockdown by being the only sport that was given a government loan. Now, whatever those terms and conditions of the loan are, who's going to end up using it? It may well only be the RFL themselves that end up using it to tide them over, because we don't have an Ashes series and we may not have a Challenge Cup final this year. Irrespective, no other sport has been to central government and been given the wherewithal to find a manner of survival. And we did that on the back of unity and common purpose and governance that was deemed to be ahead of most other sports in terms of the processes that are written down, the all-inclusive community nature of the sport. All the things that we love about Rugby League got us to the position at the start of lockdown where we could survive. And towards the end of lockdown, we're now back in little pockets of self-interest that have beset us for 125 years, as Gemma said. So it's really interesting to see, even over lockdown, how Rugby League has gone from its very best face to some of it's not so good. And unless that changes, and it has to change with an agreement from everybody that independence, a commission, is better than vested interest making the major decisions, then nothing will change.
Yeah, if anything, the governing body of the RFL are perhaps guilty of being too close to the people, whereas that degree of independence needs to come in almost like the RFL board saying, right, we're becoming completely independent of you now, or we say, right, we're bringing in another sort of 3 directors, non-executive directors, however, and they are the completely independent board now. They decide what happens, not us.
I think there's a massive illustration of this in Sonny Bill Williams, because technically under the terms of the rules of the NRL, he can't play this year. Clearly, there's at least one club that definitely would have him, and there's another club that might be interested in him. Either club, he would be great PR value. But to hear Peter V'landys, who is the chairman of a genuinely independent commission, saying whatever the rules are, if this guy's available and is going to increase the profile of the competition, never mind make a club that he happens to join more competitive than it was before he joined them. The fact is, we can't turn down the chance to have him back in our ranks, and we'll find a way of moving the rules to accommodate him because of the exceptional circumstances he might come under. Over here, you know, we won't give anybody a dispensation to do anything, especially if it's going to disadvantage the people who are making the decision. So I think that crystallises for me the difference.